Also got mixed farmer Bridget Christensen on the line from Pilton. Good morning to you both.
Good morning.
Thanks
Morning,
so much.
Claire.
Thanks for being on the show. Now, Gary, I'm going to start with you. What do you think then about encouraging farmers like Bridget to stop growing maize in terms of land management?
Well, I think maize has always been a sensitive subject as a sort of a crop that we grow, but it is an important crop. It's one of the largest crops grown worldwide, and it's proved to be a very important forage crop, especially in a year like this year when we've had some pretty poor grass growth because of the hot summer. A lot of farmers have really depended on maize as a crop to feed their cattle predominantly.
So how does Somerset compare then to perhaps other nearby counties in terms of the amount we grow, the land management? I mean, have we seen changes work elsewhere?
Yes, we have. I mean, there's various initiatives going on. There's a maize charter trial that's been running in Dorset, and there's been quite a bit of work with farmers in Devon as well. Typically in Devon, for example, they've got more problems because they've got steeper slopes and flashier catchments down there, water catchments, that is. So the runoff problems can be exacerbated. But it's the issues with where maize is grown, perhaps in a way that isn't quite as sustainable. It's a problem across the country. It's not just in Somerset.
Let's go to Bridget then. Bridget, for you, how important is maize?
It's very important. We're a fully housed dairy herd. So maize is one of our bulk crops, as Gary's already just said, but we integrate that with grass silage and minerals. From a cost of production point of view, it's a lovely big bulk crop, so the price per hectare is quite good. It provides lots of energy for the cows and is good for the digestion and increases our milk production. So we have lots of milk, yummy milk for people to buy in Britain. But we do spend a lot of time getting our maize planting right. We do it in rotation with other crops. So we also grow after maize winter wheat or cover crops. So we never put maize in year after year after year in the same fields. That would be disastrous. So a cover crop, for those that don't know, would be a mixture of maybe radish, and not your garden radish, but long radishes that go inches down into the ground, mustard seed, spring oats, which have a massive root system, clover, linseed for the birds and pollinating insects. So that adds lots of organic matter to the field and gives it lots of structure to prevent runoff for when we put the maize back in. We work really hard to protect the soil. It's our most vital thing on the planet is good soil. And it's up to farmers to protect that. So we never leave a field fallow in the winter. No farmers should really now. And it's about environmentally protecting our soil and being economically sustainable, but socially as well, so people don't get flooded. But I would also say so farmers' fields don't get flooded as well.
It was interesting. I was speaking to a soil expert earlier on in the programme who said that actually there might be ways that farmers can adapt with this, harvesting the maize earlier or covering it. I mean, are there potential ways to come up with a happy medium here? Does that exist?
Oh, definitely. It does exist. There's some really positive things going on. I mean, here at Steamboat, we're members of the Maize Growers Association who are investigating new things all the time. We have an agronomist, and an agronomist is someone who specialises in arable crops, Adam North from Pierce Seeds. So John, in your earlier interview, was saying about growing maize early under plastic, but it's not plastic as such, it's biodegradable. So you can maybe put it in 4 weeks early to get the season going early. We're also developing seeds that you can plant earlier so that you can cut earlier. I mean, we were blessed with the perfect year this year, and that we actually got all of our maize into the clamp by the end of September, and we had absolutely everything else drilled by the middle of October. We're done. And it's been the perfect season. But you have to take into consideration climate change. Sometimes the weather doesn't always roll like that, but farmers have to work with the weather. And maize is always going to be a good product, and it's up to farmers to be have innovation along with partners like the Maize Growers Association and your agronomist.
Okay. I have to say, I mean, Gary, there will be people listening to this maybe thinking, and I'm fully aware that if it comes to, the Environment Agency and the Highways Agency and councils, they're not here to respond to this. So I'm certainly not naming specific places in this. But if we think generally about areas that flood, there will be some farmers going, hang on a second, this isn't just all down to us. Let's look at the type of land that we're building on. Let's look at our waterways. Let's look at drain management. Surely shouldn't that be brought in here, and the blame shouldn't lay solely with farmers and maize?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think these local flooding issues that we have are never down to one factor. They can be down to many things. Bridget's already mentioned climate change, and the flooding that we saw in parts of Somerset in October last year, for example, was definitely down to a very extreme weather events, a couple of big rainfall events that we had back to back. All of the factors play in. So farming is obviously a part of it, but it's only a part of it. There's also lots of other things like drainage clearance on highways. Yeah, lots of hard surfaces from new developments that are being built, which really exacerbate that runoff very clearly. But I think also as well, from the farming side of things, Bridget is obviously doing all of the right things with her maize, and that's fantastic. But I would really recommend, to any farmer that is considering growing maize, doing a risk assessment on the field that they're going to be planting on. You really need to be looking at aspects such as the slope of the fields, the soils type, and where the water, if it does run off that field, where it's going to end up.
Okay, thanks.
So there's lots of things to play in, yeah.
Thanks. I'm sorry I'm running out of time, but thank you both for being on the programme today, for speaking to us. Gary Rumbold there, Chief Executive of the Farming and Wildlife Advisory Group Southwest. Bridget Christensen, a mixed farmer in Pil.